Welcome to the Cooperation in Education podcast series. In this limited series, we will dive into the future of higher education and explore how cooperations can transform learning experiences. This podcast series is part of the Cooperation in Education Knowledge Gateway project, in short, the CIE Gateway project. CIE Gateway is an international project that aims to support educators in better preparing their students for the dynamic and challenging world of work. We do that by 1. Encouraging multidisciplinary and external collaborations, 2. Fostering engagement with industry and society for educational practice, and 3. Equipping academic staff with tools and resources to enhance education delivery. The CIE Gateway project unites partners from 4 countries across Europe: IMTBS from France, FH Münster from Germany, UIN for the Netherlands, and Young from Finland. The CIE Gateway project is funded by the European Union. Views and opinions expressed are, however, those of the authors only and do not necessarily reflect those of the European Union or the Finnish National Agency for Education. Neither the European Union nor the granting authority can be held responsible for them. Hi everyone, we are back for one more episode of our Cooperation in Education podcast series. Today, we will talk about navigating collaboration, overcoming engagement, challenges with Professor Thomas Baaken. Professor Baaken is the founder and the former senior managing director of the Science to Business Marketing Research Center and has recently retired from the FH Münster after over 30 years of passion, integrity, and unwavering commitment to excellence. As a professor, Thomas combined his passion for science and business and has extensive expertise in collaborative projects, especially with industry. Hello, Thomas. We are happy to have you here. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Could you share a little bit about your journey bridging science and businesses and what initially inspired you to focus on the intersection of these fields?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm more than happy to answer some questions on the topic. Well, what was initially the driver or the inspiration why I did it? It was kind of an external, more or less, initiative because I was doing teaching and research as an average kind of professor many years ago, teaching students how all our colleagues are doing it. Suddenly, I was approached by a new appointed rector. And he asked me, could you imagine, Thomas, to be our vice rector, pro-rector, vice president on research and technology transfer? And my answer was, wow, why me? I have not really records on exceptional research or teaching, so why are you approaching me? And he said, well, you are teaching marketing in B2B business, business-to-business marketing strategies. And if the university, our university, wants to be more successful in technology transfer, as he called it at that time, and we want to offer our knowledge and outcomes and research and patterns to companies outside there, and we are asking for something back, like resources or money or whatever, it's a market. And if it is a market, I think you are the best to organize and manage the field. And I took a few days to reflect, but then I was convinced on the question and I stepped in the position. And I did it for 5 years. And it was really a challenge because our colleagues, as all the professors in all universities, are more or less convinced or enthusiastic on what they are doing. And I observed the first half of a year the processes, and we analyzed it, and we reflected the processes and the strategies. And after half a year, I learned a lot what we as a university are doing wrong. And we turned the entire university upside down. So we set up seminars and workshops for professors how to approach external organizations like companies, how to operate with them, how to listen to what they really need, how to understand their pains and needs, and then start talking, but not what they the professors have done, but what could contribute to the company's problems, or what could solve the company's challenges. And that is where it all started. But that wasn't an easy journey, because you never will catch or convince all professors and researchers and teachers to do it. But if you get like 20% or 40% of them to change their attitude and their operation and acting, then it's really a good start. And then you have a lot of role models all of a sudden, and younger professors are striving or trying to go along with it, and so on. So it was really a big success. That the Ministry of Higher Education and Technology of our North Rhine-Westphalian land was asking, because they got aware of it, wow, what are you doing here? Could you please write it up or organize some workshops, not only for your own university, but also for other universities in our country, to make them learn on how it works. And I started to think could be a good idea. I was asking for some little money for starting this process, the activity on the topic, to get it more organized and more like scheduled or whatever. So that was the start.
Wow, and what a journey. We also have been discussing a lot, as you also now mentioned, that it's not easy to get the professors on board and the industry side and everything. So it is usually easier said than done. And I believe you could elucidate a bit the path for us, because you have done it since the beginning here for the FH. So what are some of the challenges that you have encountered during fostering this industry engagement and putting together all these projects, and how all these challenges actually impacted the success of the results of the projects?
Well, a good question, because there have been more challenges and obstacles and thresholds than you would believe, far more than drivers for the colleagues, for the professors. I only touch maybe two areas of challenges. One is an organizational challenge. So there is a huge amount of red tape and administration and bureaucracy in a university, which is really a problem to really get it done. As I was part of the presidency of the board, I had some influence on removing a lot of red tape. However, I think I spent more than 2/3 of my time during my whole career in this area as a vice president or as a managing director of the Science to Business Research Center to understand all the bureaucracy, the hurdles, and to find ways around it or overcome it or dig tunnels under it, or you need to kind of really get around it. And if you ask the administration, can I do this? I would like to do that. They always say no. They are no-sayers. And this is a challenge. And many colleagues who really are not willing to do it or not prepared to do it from the first step, they say, okay, if there is a no, I don't do it. So it was really easy for them to not doing it. However, there was always ways to solve it. If you talk to other people and legal people outside the universities or ministerial people or whoever, you will find some ideas and bits and pieces of knowledge how you could get around bureaucracy. That is really not easy and it's not fun, but you need to do it. Otherwise, you are chained at your office and that's it. So it's really a challenge to get bureaucracy out of the way, the big stones and also small stones. And I started to find a way like, do not ask, because it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. So we started not to ask anymore, nobody, but just did it. And if somebody was kind of approaching us, you cannot do that. We apologize and, we didn't know it, but it is a big success. And so we got forgiveness and ways around for the future around it. Another area of challenges is the mindset of the professors and teachers. There's not much empathy in those people. They have left, especially in our type of universities where you need to have at least 5 years of industry experience before you start a professorship. So they left industry of certain reasons. And now we are try to convince them to work with industry again. And some did, others said, no, I just left them because of some reasons and I'm not willing to go back in these areas, so leave me alone. And also many professors and researchers and teachers, they are much convinced on what they are doing rather than listening to other people. So empathy is one important factor in getting university business cooperation done.
And were there any challenges from the industry side?
Not really, no. All the industry we have approached by our marketing of strategy, inviting them on a one-to-one level or small groups or organizing workshops to invite them. No, not really. So they all have been, hundreds have been very open-minded, and they are always looking for opportunities and for chances to improve or to get new knowledge or new technologies or innovation. So I have not seen many, some maybe single ones, but 90% of all industry was very much open-minded, and they were happy to be approached and being invited. However, we have not launched public invitations, but we have organized approaches. We analyzed companies, target companies we wanted to work with. We looked at what they are doing, what are their strategies, structures. We learned about the company before we approached it. So it is not just, hey, are you willing to talk to us? But I know what you are doing. I know what challenges or general challenges you are facing. And maybe we could have some solutions for you, and it could make sense to talk. So we have a more concrete rather than general approach. We also have invited small groups of companies and also professors from the university, like 10 companies and 15 professors, and we locked us into a room. Everybody had to say what they are doing. Then naturally we had pairs of people, and they had to go for 1 hour into a room, and after 1 hour we opened the doors again. And it was really interesting how many ideas came up of this type of workshops. And then we had a list on priorities, and because I was part of the board and also from the companies on board level, there was acceptance or approval. Both sides from top down, they asked after a while, what happened? Do we have projects? What happened to the project? Do they do progress? And so on. So there was kind of a managerial strategy from both sides, following down the projects we have initially created in these type of workshops. And that was really a breakthrough in the field. We also had kind of tools. So the professors had a small questionnaire. Once they approach companies, they had to ask before they start talking about themselves, listen, and also take on board the wording and the vocabulary and expressions from this industry sector and from this company to rebuild it into their answers and so on. So it was a way how to do it. However, it's a people's business. So it's not possible to have an organization working together with another organization, but a professor with somebody from a company. So you need to have people, single persons or groups of people working together. Trust is an important element. Communication is an important element to get the things really successfully done.
Yeah, we have heard the same on that sense. It's a people business.
People business.
It's one-to-one. It's a relationship. Everything starts like that.
Yeah.
And also heard that it is more internal than external, the challenge. Because if you knock the doors, it's usually you hear yes. The no's are really not that many.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see that from your perspective from many years, and being the one that who really did everything you could, especially when you had more ways or more power to bridge the ways. And because of that, I'm curious to hear how it has evolved. So you already explained a bit how it started, and over the years, if the implementation became somehow easier with these workshops, for example, and especially how do you see this integration of these industry partnerships impacting the students' careers and their learnings and being ready to go out there and be the workers of the future, the leaders of the future?
Yeah, the challenge was to scale it. Yeah? So you could easily get some projects initiated in the university on a one-to-one level. But if you want to scale it, so you don't want to have one, but 100, you would need to have different strategies. What we have done in our university, and that could be a role model, or it's really to look at, is this triangle of university business cooperation. Triangle means we do have 3 organizations or areas in the university. We have the president and the board. And there needs to be at least one, better more people in the board who are really convinced that it is an important area. Then we do have the Technology Transfer Office. However, it's a private company. But the Technology Transfer Office, private office, CEO, he is also the vice president of the university. So there is a lot of connection and direct impact vice versa in both organizations. And there's a third organization, which are us. And we are the ones, as a research organization on the topic, collecting all these best practices and role models and strategies, and to do research on the field, how to improve it, how to make it better, what are the challenges of the future. And we are also linked to the board and to the technology transfer company, and very closely working together with both. So this triangle makes it, I think, for this university easier to be successful in the field of university business cooperation than in the past, and like many others. You mentioned the students. Well, we always have tried to incorporate students into every type of project, at least, and that's a field, one of the fields we are doing cooperation with companies is that we organize so-called semester projects. We are picking up problems from companies. Those problems are solved by a group of students as in a teaching format. There's one professor or a teacher who is responsible for the project, and we have like 12, maybe 15 students working on it. And then after semester ends, the group is presenting their results to the board of the company. And all of the projects, I haven't heard of any of the projects which have not really well worked. The companies are really happy, really get more than they expected. They are now asking a number of students if they could continue the work on the project in the company as an intern or first job or whatever, or getting their bachelor or master thesis in the area. So there is also a connection of the company to the students for the future. And if you ask the students, once they have finished their studies, what was the most interesting or thrilling teaching area of your program, they always point out to this type of projects. Because it's real world projects with real companies, with real problems. They also get a certificate from the companies on company letterhead, where the company is certifying the success of the project to each single students. So you can imagine if they are applying for a job after their studies and they have 2 or 3 of these certificates of companies from industry, they have a lot of advantage against other applicants from other universities. They have a lot more experience in real world, and we as teachers, we have interesting projects. We learn also a lot from this type of projects to incorporate the solutions in our future teaching, and we have thrilling and interesting teaching, and the company, they get really great solutions and also potential employees. So it's a win-win-win situation, and because of this, we have created it as a future way of teaching at our university. You can really use it as a future strategic teaching area if you have the organization convinced to do it. In our university, it is depending on single professors, if they want it or not want it. And there's only few possibilities for the board or for the dean or leading people to get professors and teaching staff to follow this strategy.
Yeah, that's so interesting to hear how big it can become if you foster it and really go for it. And you already started mentioning that this is a strategy for future teaching and everything. Mm-hmm. But do you see any other trends or something else shaping this collaboration between industry and universities? And if there's something that is coming now, what could be then the universities do to adapt to these changes and then keep impacting both industry and the students and, of course, internally?
Well, I think there's a lot of knowledge meanwhile created on this topic and the way on how it could be solved. But what I learned from other universities or new colleagues, they all started it from the scratch. So they are not looking at what has been done in the future. Where are the best solutions? What can I learn from these best practices or best solutions? They all start developing it on their own again. And that is really sad because they are doing the same mistakes, hitting the same problems, rather looking at how they have been overcome in the past. So there's a lot of knowledge available, really a lot of solutions available, not only in literature, but on conferences, in conference papers, in white papers, but people are not willing or not prepared to onboard this knowledge. They all start with their own experience again, which is really sad. So that is really a little bit of a big problem from my point of view, that not many people, really even maybe nobody, is really prepared to onboard knowledge from the past, because they all start again from zero. And that is sad. It shouldn't be like that. I'm still reading a lot in the field, and it's still most of the research and the publications or whatever addressing thresholds, problems, obstacles, barriers, hurdles. The title is Barriers in Technology Transfer. You can have, if you look for it, you will find hundreds and hundreds of papers in the field. But barriers is not the field to look at. It is the drivers to look at. It is far more important to have the right drivers and motivation to do it, rather than looking at the barriers. Because if you take the barriers away, nothing will happen. But if you have strong drivers and motivation, then all barriers and hurdles and problems are easy to overcome. And if you Google drivers in technology transfer or university business cooperation, you will find 2 or 3 publications. So there is a big imbalance on barriers. All people think that is important, and drivers, and nobody thinks it is important, but it's just the other way around. Yeah? Drivers are far more important. You have to do more research on drivers and motivation rather than the negative side, the barriers.
Definitely. And I really like that you brought that up, because I think that was also one point of discussions that we have, that people are open to talk about it and you can get to know how to do it. And in the end, the barriers are way smaller, or you find a way, as you said in the beginning, you find a way to go around. You just do it and then you apologize if something happens. I really like that approach, to be honest, because in the end, that's it. If you just focus on the negative side, of course, nothing is going to happen. Yeah. And that's not the purpose. It's about the motivation and be there and do the difference for the students and for the industry that you are inviting to cooperate. First of all, thank you for all these insights. I think it complements all the discussions that we have been having with a new perspective, with the new ideas behind it. As you said, empathy, drivers, and more examples, which is really great. But before we close up, I just wanted to give you the space for any other advice you want to give educators, institutions, companies, or any other lessons that you have learned through all these years and as an advocate for the field.
Well, if I tackle drivers, we have still that problem in the scientific system that professors, teachers, researchers are assessed along their records of publications in high-impact journals, something like that. And that is a little bit contradictory to what we are talking about, university business cooperation. And even worse, university business cooperation and technology transfer is not even recognized or valued in universities, and the careers of the researchers are not depending on that. So we should work really very hard on changing that at least a little bit. I'm not talking about do not publish anymore in high impact journals, no. But why not having like a PhD student who has to publish like 4 or 5 papers? Why not one of them define as a UBC, University Business Paper, a project done with companies, to give it more recognition, to give it more value, and that is seen as something worth. So we have to change the system, public university or university and science system, at least a little bit in this direction. So there's still a lot to do, but there are also ways and strategies for countries, politics, university boards, deans, whoever is in this type of position, responsible for managing universities, and they have it in their hand to change it. Address them as target person to get more aware on their power in that field.
That is a really great way to close it. Thank you so much, Thomas, for being here and for sharing everything. It was really inspiring to hear your expertise and your insights about navigating collaboration, overcoming engagement, challenges. And also thank you to our listeners for tuning in today. And a huge thank you to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in into today's episode. Join us as we continue to explore collaborative projects and their role in the future of higher education. Follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. If you're interested in further materials, check out the show notes of this episode where you will find a link to our project website. We will fill it with further content and resources in the upcoming weeks. Cooperation in Education podcast series, where collaboration meets inspiration.